As the basement door creaks open, the foul stench hits him first, thick and suffocating, the scent of decay and rot mixed with the sweat and blood of his suffering son. He descends the stairs slowly, each step echoing ominously, sending a wave of fear through Jake's battered body. For Jake, the basement has always been a place of unimaginable torment, but now, with Daniel's arrival, it becomes even worse. The maggots, which have taken over his body, seem to react to Daniel's presence. They squirm and wriggle more violently, their tiny bodies pressing against his skin, burrowing deeper. Jake can feel them crawling inside his flesh, moving beneath his skin, making his face itch and swell in agony. The smell in the basement is unbearable, a mix of rotting flesh and the scent of blood. It's so overwhelming that it's all Jake can do not to choke on it, his stomach turning as he gasps for breath. He can't see, but he knows Daniel is there, watching him, enjoying every second of his misery. Daniel's footsteps grow louder as he gets closer, the sound going through the concrete walls. The sensation is maddening, and Jake can do nothing but endure it, knowing that his father is about to unleash a new level of torment upon him yet again, forever. The sound of Daniel's heavy breathing reaches Jake's ears. Jake's entire body tenses, every nerve on fire, waiting for the next wave of pain, knowing that it's coming, knowing that there's no escape. Daniel steps closer to Jake. "You're absolutely revolting," circling Jake slowly. "Just look at yourself. You're barely even human anymore. A pitiful excuse for a creature. How could you let yourself get like this?" He leans in, inches from Jake's face, the stench almost unbearable. "Those maggots crawling inside you. It's a wonder you're still alive. You're nothing but a festering pile of filth." Daniel shakes his head, mocking him. "You reek of death, Jake. I can barely stand to look at you, but I can't look away either." He steps back, letting out a laugh. "I almost feel sorry for the maggots. Even they deserve better than you." Jake, barely able to lift his head, croaks out a question, his voice trembling with desperation. What is death?" Daniel's eyes narrow, and he leans in closer, his voice dripping with cruel amusement. "Death is what you're begging for, Jake. It's the end of all this suffering. It's the release from this never-ending torment. You shall never receive it. You don't get to have that ever." Jake begs. His beady, maggot-infested eyes look near him. "Please, I want to die." Daniel leans closer. "Even if you die, Jake, I'll be there waiting. Your suffering doesn't end with death. I'll be there, waiting." Jake then twitches up in a ball, violently squirming, until he all of a sudden seems to stiffen up silently. Then a tormented scream releases from him, lasting a full minute. Daniel bursts into uncontrollable laughter. It was hilarious to him. Jake had snapped beyond his breaking point years and years ago, and this was the result of someone being tortured to the point of death every day, for years and years and years. It's too perfect for Daniel. Thanks to the serum. Even as his body endures unimaginable relentless torment, his mind remains untouched by damage that might otherwise dull the pain. The serum keeps his brain in an impeccable state, preserving its functionality so that every moment of agony is felt in full. Even though he has gone insane from the suffering, any actual numbness or escape is impossible. There is no actual damage. His father designs Jake's serum differently from his own. Daniel is always healed in full in all areas, while Jake's brain is the only thing healed fully. The rest is only repaired to the bare minimum, and mostly it's not even that. In the depths of his unending agony, Jake's mind, pushed to the brink, suddenly fixates on a desperate, last-ditch effort. With a sudden burst of weak and pitiful strength, he tries to slam his head against the concrete floor, hoping for some final escape from his suffering. He is horrified that his father would find him in whatever was after this, but he must try. The impact is hardly worth noting, a pathetic, feeble thud against the concrete. His attempts are more comical than tragic, each strike less forceful and more worm-like than the last. Each attempt he lets out a weaselly noise. His out-of-shape, emaciated body shakes with the effort, each move betraying his lack of physical power, sheer desperation, and ineffectiveness, barely making a dent as he collapses, sprawled on the floor. His feeble cries echo, a mockery of his desperate wish for relief. Suddenly, Jake's body seizes up, his muscles tightening in a violent spasm. His limbs jerk erratically, slamming against the hard floor as if his body is rejecting him. The serum forces his brain into hyper-awareness. Every nerve is set on fire. Every sensation is heightened to unbearable levels. Jake's heart pounds in his chest, threatening to burst from the intensity, but the serum won't let it. It keeps him on the edge of a heart attack, forcing him to feel every agonizing pulse. Jake's mouth opens in a silent scream, his vocal cords too shredded to produce sound, but the terror is still there, evident in his wide, bloodshot eyes. His mind races, desperate for an escape that will never come. Even his brain's natural defense mechanisms, shock, unconsciousness, are denied by the serum. Every fiber of his being is screaming for release, but there's none to be found. Daniel smirks. "Oh, almost forgot something," he says, snapping his fingers as if he had some genius idea. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a pair of oversized sunglasses and places them on Jake's face, the lenses crooked and far too large. "There you go, buddy," Daniel laughs, clapping his hands together. "Now you're ready for your close-up. Wouldn't want those maggots to get in your eyes, right?" Daniel straightens up, still laughing to himself, and as he walks toward the stairs, he does a little dance, humming a song to himself. He even throws in a few spins and finger guns as he reaches the door. "Don't go anywhere now," Daniel says with a wink. He struts out of the basement as if he hadn't just left his son in unimaginable torment. The door slams shut behind him. Once he's in the bright open spaces of his home. It's now about 3 in the afternoon. He grabs a towel and takes a long hot shower, washing away any stains of the basement. Afterwards, Daniel puts on fresh clothes, a white t-shirt and some black athletic joggers, and prepares for the day. He plans to head out and grab lunch from his favorite local spot, then maybe swing by the community center to check in on the progress of the new park he's funding. Daniel steps out of his house, the morning sun shining brightly as he makes his way down the familiar streets of Proctor, Minnesota. He jogs there with a confident stride, greeting neighbors with a friendly wave and a warm smile. It's only a 2 or 3 minute jog to the Proctor Pizza and Sub Shop, one of his favorite spots. Inside, the staff are happy to see him, knowing him as a regular. Daniel orders a large pepperoni pizza and a 2-liter bottle of Pib Extra, his usual. While he waits, he chats with the cashier, making small talk about the town and upcoming events. Once his order is ready, Daniel thanks them and steps back outside. pizza box in one hand and the bottle of soda in the other. He then begins to walk home. The pizza smells amazing. The sky is bright blue, not a cloud in the sky. A warm 70-degree day with a slight wind. He closes in on his home and opens the door. He walks into his living room and rests on the couch. He turns on the television and begins to eat. Within a half an hour, the entire pizza is gone, all except one slice. He gets a great idea. He takes the full 2-liter and last slice of pizza and walks towards the basement door. He unlocks it and descends into the basement. Daniel grins as he descends into the basement, holding the last slice of pizza and the full 2-liter bottle of Pib Extra. You know, Jake, I just had the best pizza. Pepperoni, perfectly baked, with just the right amount of cheese. And this, he lifts the soda bottle slightly. This is Pib Extra. It's like heaven, in a bottle, the perfect drink to wash down a slice. Jake's eyes widen as he looks at the pizza and soda. He's never seen anything like it before. What are those? He asks, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and curiosity. Daniel chuckles, enjoying Jake's confusion. This, Jake, is a slice of the outside world, something you'll never have. Pizza is this amazing food, dough, sauce, cheese, and whatever toppings you like, all baked together. And this, he shakes the bottle, is soda, fizzy, sweet, and cold, perfect on a day like this. He takes a big gulp from the bottle, letting out a satisfied sigh as he swallows. Jake's sad, starved, beady-eyed, bloodshot gaze is fixed on the food and drink, something he has never even seen before, with the look of starvation in his eyes. Can I try it? He asks hesitantly. Daniel laughs cruelly. Oh no, Jake, you don't get to taste it. This is just for me. He takes a bite of the pizza, chewing slowly to savor it, then washes it down with another swig of soda, making a show of how much he's enjoying it. You see, Jake, this is what living is all about. The simple pleasures. Besides, Jake, you don't even have hands. Too bad you ate those, you glutton. God, by the way, that stench of yours. Why don't you take a shower, you freak? Oh, that's right. You wouldn't know what a shower is. It's what normal people use to clean themselves, something you clearly haven't experienced. It's like standing under warm, soothing water that comes out of a shower head and washing off all the grime and filth. It feels great. You wouldn't understand, though. You're too busy being a pathetic mess down here. Jake's eyes, wide and filled with confusion, try to process the concept. What's water? He asks weakly. Daniel's laugh is harsh and loud. Water. It's everywhere. Daniel smirks as he munches on his last slice of pizza, savoring the taste. You know, Jake, he begins, with his mouth full, looking down at his captive with a twisted sense of amusement. There's a whole world outside of this basement. Rivers, oceans, places with so much water it stretches as far as the eye can see. People swim, sail, even just sit by the water to relax. The sky above is clear and blue, and the sun feels warm on your skin. Imagine that. Not that you ever will. Jake's eyes, filled with a rare glimmer of something like hope, widen as he listens. Rivers? Oceans? Swimming? He barely gets the words out before puking up clumps of maggots. Daniel laughs, finding Jake's reaction both pathetic and amusing. It's a whole different world out there, clean, beautiful, and free. You'd probably be overwhelmed by how different it is from this hellhole. But don't get your hopes up. The closest you'll ever get to that is hearing me talk about it." For a brief moment, Jake's face reflects a slight flicker of normalcy as he pictures the images Daniel describes. He can't accurately imagine these things at all. But he still tries. Daniel has never before described such things. Was he lying? Jake thought to himself. Jake was too dumb to tell if he was being lied to. For all Jake knows, those basement stairs could be a black space where Daniel, and Daniel alone, floats around grabbing whatever he wants from thin air. Daniel continues, "Yep, water is pretty cool. Now that I think about it, I think I'll go swimming later." As Daniel talks and chews, a single large crumb flies out of his mouth near Jake. Jake slowly attempts to grab it with all of his strength, but Jake's nubs of hands are squashed by Daniel's shoes. Jake, open wounds of what once was hands spew out blood as Daniel twists and turns his shoe. He screams out in agony, but no noise come out. He cries and whimpers pathetically. Daniel casually drops the last piece of pizza crust onto the floor, just out of Jake's reach. He watches Jake's writhing in pain with a hint of satisfaction before he turns and heads back upstairs. With a final gaze at Jake in the corner, Daniel climbs the stairs, leaving Jake behind. He locks the basement door behind him. Hours pass in agonizing slowness. Jake's mind, exhausted and battered, begins to lose its grip on reality. The occasional sobs turn into incoherent mumblings as he becomes more and more desperate. His eyes occasionally flicker towards the small piece of pizza crust on the floor, which had initially gone unnoticed in his fog of suffering. As the realization dawns on him, a glimmer of hope ignites in his fading consciousness. With a renewed, yet feeble, burst of energy, he stretches and twists his body, attempting to inch closer to the crust. His movements are slow, uncoordinated, and punctuated by deep, guttural moans. For 9 grueling hours, Jake struggles, his body contorting in increasingly unnatural positions as he reaches and strains, but always just out of grasp. The effort is pathetic, a display of pure desperation against the unyielding chains and his own failing strength. His attempts are punctuated by occasional breaks where he collapses only to gather what little strength he has left and try again. He says please repeatedly. He begs for it to come closer, his first real meal in his existence. He wants it so badly. Jake's tears fall silently as he watches the maggots inch their way towards the lone piece of pizza crust. His cries of despair mix with the wriggling sound of the maggots, who seem to sense the food even before he does. He sees his first real chance at a meal being consumed by the maggots he despises. He lost. His body is weak, but he forces himself to move. Every attempt to reach the crust is agonizingly slow, each inch forward a battle against the pain and fatigue that grips him. With every effort, he mumbles, "Please," and come closer, his voice cracking with desperation. His nubs of hands, trembling and raw, reach out towards the crust that is just out of his grasp. It hurts him even more, knowing that if he still had hands he could reach it. But he does not. Upstairs, Daniel headed to his gym, focused on reaching a goal he had missed last week, a 425-pound bench press. He started his warm-up routine with lighter weights, then increasing the load to prepare his muscles. After several sets, he loaded 425 pounds onto the barbell. Determined to succeed this time, he laid down on the bench, adjusted his grip, and took a deep breath. With a powerful push and a manly, menacing scream, he managed to complete the lift. Setting the barbell back on the rack, he swung his fists triumphantly, accidentally putting a hole in his wall. He now had a fist-sized window in his gym. He then yelled, "Son of a bitch!" Daniel spends hours in his home gym, watching old clips of George Foreman. He studies Foreman's punches and stance, noting how he moves and fights. Inspired, Daniel practices Foreman's techniques. He works on his punches, trying to match Foreman's. Each training session is focused on mimicking Foreman's style, from the way he throws punches to his footwork. Even though Daniel doesn't fight much, he's determined to embody Foreman's fighting power and skill in his own practice. Now, nearing 8 at night, Daniel takes a cold shower to rinse off the sweat from training and blood from Jake's punishment. He finishes his shower and walks over to the fridge. He opens it and is greeted with plenty of ice-cold natty daddies. Daniel opens up the glass doors to his small backyard. It's fenced in by tall, well-trimmed bushes for privacy. He sits in his chair and watches TV. He drinks 10 natty daddies over the next 2 hours. Eventually Daniel, swaying as he stands, stares at the basement door with a glint in his eye. "All right, time to crack this seal and make my mark." He chuckles. "Gonna go remind our dear Jake of what happens when you're as disgusting as he is." He wobbles towards the basement door, nearly tripping over his own feet. He opens the basement door. "You see, Jake," he calls out loudly, "this is what you get for being such a pathetic, pitiful mess. Thought you could get a taste of the outside world, huh? Well, let's see how you like this." Daniel then trips down the stairs and rolls down, smashing his head off the concrete. He eventually gets up slowly and unbuttons his pants. "Here, Jake, get a taste," he says. Daniel then pissed all over Jake, making sure to hit his open, revealed spine. Jake's eyes rolled into the back of his skull as he was woke from a long-needed sleep he had finally fell into just minutes prior. Daniel then laughed loudly as he crawled back upstairs, locking the door behind him. Daniel lay just outside the basement door, with his ear resting by the crack under the door, just to hear Jake whimper. Daniel giggled until he finally fell asleep. September 19th, 2053. Daniel awakens with a contented stretch, his blissful smile spreading across his face. The morning sun filters through the kitchen window, casting a warm, golden glow over the room. He lies sprawled comfortably on the kitchen floor. As he rises, he takes a deep breath, savoring the peaceful silence of the house. The smell of fresh flowers and slightly overgrown grass adding to his sense of satisfaction. He stretches his limbs, enjoying the relaxed feeling of his body after a night of untroubled slumber. Daniel slowly rises, looking around with a sense of contentment. "Ah, what a wonderful morning," he says to himself, his voice cheerful and light. He begins to tidy up the kitchen, humming a tune as he goes. Everything feels perfect. The sun is shining, the house is quiet, and he's ready to enjoy the day ahead. Jake wakes up in the pitch-black basement, the darkness almost suffocating. The air is thick with the foul stench of decay and old urine. His body is a mess, covered in grime and sweat. The pizza crust he had tried to reach is now covered in maggots, crawling all over it and him. His muscles ache from his previous position, and moving is painful and difficult. Every attempt to shift or lift himself is weak and ineffective. He collapses back onto the cold concrete, his breath coming in ragged gasps. His cries for help turn into pitiful whimpers that echo in the dark. Unable to see anything, Jake's eyes remain wide open in the blackness. He can't escape the feeling of the maggots crawling on him or the horror of his life. The sense of hopelessness and despair is overwhelming. The feeling of starvation grows further beyond unbearable every passing week. Jake, desperate and driven by an unbearable hunger, slowly begins to notice the maggots crawling over the food he's been denied. His stomach grumbles, the hunger gnawing at him relentlessly. With trembling hands, he reaches out and hesitates for a moment, glancing at the wriggling maggots. In a state of near delirium, Jake hesitantly scoops them near his mouth with his nubs of what used to be hands. He brings them near his mouth. He scoops them into his mouth. The maggots squirm against his tongue as he forces himself to swallow. He cries as he continues, driven by an instinctual need to consume something, anything. The maggots are a terrible substitute for the real food he craves. He looks on at the maggot-filled pizza crust he so desperately wants, but will never have. But in his current state, the maggots are the only thing within reach. The mirrors that surrounded him mocked him as he watched himself consume the maggots that were also consuming him. The maggots and puke spew from his mouth onto the floor. The sickening sight of his own vomit mixed with the wriggling maggots only adds to his despair. He collapses into the mess he's made, the puke now a pool around him. "I'm hungry," he squeals. Jake tenses up, his body seizing with a final burst of energy granted by the serum. He lets out a blood-curdling scream, the sound echoing off the basement walls. The scream is a haunting. Meanwhile, Daniel upstairs sits on the toilet on his phone, scrolling through social media as he laughs loudly. Suddenly, he remembers he wanted to check on some things at the community center yesterday. He forgot to do that then, so he decides to head out. The community center is only a short walk down the road and around the corner. He puts on his brown turtleneck leather jacket and zips it up. He changes out of his current pants into some dark red heavily pocketed jeans, along with his black boots. It's a cold morning as he walks down the street. The sky is blue with a thick layer of clouds in the distance with the sun beaming under. The sky under the clouds is completely white. The shadows casted from the sun at this are very long and stretched. Daniel's tall shadow stretched far down the road in front of him as he walked. He made his way into the community center. The center's walls are adorned with photos and charts showing the positive impact of his contributions. There's nobody currently in the lobby, so he just sits there and thinks about what Proctor could use. He thinks to himself, the basketball courts are pretty run down. I think I'll see about painting those and replacing the hoops. Some higher fencing could be nice also. Daniel saw Emily and waved her over. "Hey, Emily, I'm planning to fix up the basketball courts," he said. "They need a new coat of paint, new hoops, and some higher fencing." Emily's face brightened. "That sounds great. We've needed that for a while. You're so great for this town." "Thank you, and no problem," Daniel replied. "Just wanted to help out. I'll get started on it soon." Emily thanked him and went back to her work. Daniel felt good, knowing he was making a difference. Daniel left the community center and walked down the street to Proctor Builders Supply. The store was only about a block away, so it didn't take long to get there. He stepped inside. After a quick look around, Daniel found a sturdy wagon and loaded it up with cans of paint, brushes, rollers, and everything else he'd need for the courts. He made sure to grab a few extra supplies just in case. At the checkout, the cashier rang up his purchases. Got a big project ahead? She asked with a smile. Yeah, fixing up the basketball courts, Daniel replied, handing over his payment. They've needed some love for a while. Well, good luck with it, she said as she handed him the receipt. Daniel nodded and wheeled the wagon outside. As Daniel walked toward the courts, the morning turned gray, the clouds spread, covering the sun, and a cool breeze rustled the leaves. The day felt heavier, with everything muted under the gray sky. His shadow, once long, was now barely there. He kept a steady pace, pulling the wagon behind him, focused on getting to work before the weather worsened. The court was worn, with patches of grass pushing through the cracks in the gray concrete. The lines marking the court were faded, barely visible, and the hoops were rusted with nets that had seen better days. It had a neglected feel, as if it hadn't been used much in years, but it still held the potential for something better. Behind one of the baskets sat a garage, its wall decorated with vibrant graffiti, a forest scene with tall trees and birds on a branch, and the words, "Relax and rejuvenate," written in bold letters across the middle. It added a touch of color to the otherwise run-down court. He decided to work off of that. He bought plenty of paint, not yet knowing what design to go with. He decided to go with the design of the local high school. A green train and the name Proctor Rails. He unloaded the paint and supplies from the wagon, setting everything up beside the court. As the gray sky darkened overhead, Daniel began sketching out the design in chalk, carefully marking where the train and lettering would go. The cracks in the court didn't bother him much. He figured he'd patch those up after he finished painting. Just as Daniel finished painting the last of the bold letters, Proctor Rails, he felt the first drops of rain hit his arm. He looked up at the sky, now fully overtaken by dark clouds. "Son of a bitch!" he screamed out of nowhere. Quickly, he capped the paint cans and stashed his brushes back into the wagon. The rain started to pick up. Daniel stood back for a moment, admiring his work despite the weather. With the job mostly done, he pulled the wagon behind him and headed back towards home as the rain began to fall harder. As Daniel walked up the driveway, the rain began to fall more heavily. He left his supplies on the front porch and then pushed open the front door with a relieved sigh, stepping into the warmth of his calm, clean, and peaceful home. Daniel walks up the creaky stairs and enters his bedroom through a large, thick spruce wood door, a space filled with old-world charm. A large, four-poster bed dominates the room, its dark wood frame sturdy and elegant. The bedspread, rich with deep reds and golds, adds warmth to the room, contrasting with the darker tones of the walls. At the bottom of the bed, a tiger skin rug lies stretched across the wooden floor, the animal's head frozen in a roar. On either side of the bed are nightstands, each with brass lamps casting a soft golden glow. An old oak dresser stands against the wall, covered in framed black and white photos. Each photo is of past beatings he has given to Jake and his tormented form. By the window, a large, worn leather armchair sits next to lace curtains, letting in a faint light. The room is cozy, quiet, and feels like a step back in time. Daniel sinks into the armchair, glancing at the tiger rug beneath him. He crosses his legs and reaches over to his stand for a ginormous cigar. He bites down on it with his large, perfectly white teeth. After a few moments, he puts on some Beethoven onto his bedroom speakers, the song Für Elise filling the room. His eyes close for a moment as he inhales deeply from the massive cigar, licking it around the edges. Slowly, he stands, the tiger rug soft under him as he takes his first step, moving rhythmically to the music. His hands glide through the air in slow motions as if he's conducting the song himself. With each step, Daniel sways gracefully to Beethoven's gentle flow. He's completely alone, lost in the music. After his relaxing time in the bedroom, Daniel decides to take a shower. The hot water is a comfort, washing away the day's stress. He enjoys the steam and the feeling of cleanliness. Once finished, he steps out, feeling perfect. Instead of getting dressed, he decides not to get dressed. It is now 9 at night. Daniel's smile rips from one side of his face to the other as he walks naked toward the basement. It's cold down here, like always. The dark doesn't go away. It never goes away. I wish I had hands. I wish I could walk. The taste of the squirmy thing still stains my mouth. I hear the door open. My body shivers uncontrollably, and for a second, there's light. My pathetic eyes hurt from it. I squint, trying to see, trying to understand what's happening. I never understand what's happening. The stuff feels like it wants to come out of me again. It smells bad. There's so much for so long. I try to smear it on the walls, but it's too far. I hear his feet on the stairs. I know it's him. It's always him. His steps are slow, loud, closer and closer. The light moves down with him. The wet sound of his skin makes my stomach twist. I don't know why he's wet or why he's shining like that. His body is bigger than I can remember, bigger than me. He's not wearing the stuff he usually wears. His skin is all that's there, bare, shiny, scary. I don't know what that means, but it feels wrong, worse than anything before. I don't know why. I don't understand why. Why do his footsteps sound so different? I feel like I want to scream, but nothing comes out. Just sounds, small, weak sounds that won't stop. He steps closer. I can see him now in the light he brings. I want to be dead so bad. I don't know what would replace this suffering, but I need change. I heard him get to the basement floor. Then suddenly, he slowly turned his head towards me. I could barely make him out. He didn't turn the light on, only the small glow from up those stairs. My whole body shakes when he looks at me. Then, suddenly, he got on all fours. He's crawling toward me, slow and careful, like he's playing a game. I don't like this game. I feel like I'm gonna throw up, but I swallow it down. The only light is from up the stairs, just enough to see his outline. He's huge and getting bigger, like the dark is making him grow. I try to back up, but the chain pulls me down. It digs into my skin, and I can feel it burning, but I don't stop pulling. I need to get away, but I can't. I never can. I make these sounds, weak sounds. He's right there, so close, too close. I can hear him, all that heavy breathing, like he's happy or something. I hate it. I hate him. My heart is pounding so fast it hurts. I try to make myself smaller, pull back, but the chain's choking me. It burns. I want to scream, but nothing comes out. Just these little noises like squeaks, like a weak animal. Pathetic. I'm so pathetic. I don't want to look, but I can't stop. He's crawling toward me, all slow and careful, like he's playing. Why does he have to do this? I don't want to play. I just want him to go away. Please go away. I tug at the chain, but it's pulling tighter and tighter around my neck. I feel it digging in. It hurts, but not as much as this, not as much as him. He's bigger now, the closer he gets, like the shadows are making him worse, scarier. I can't breathe right. The chain's too tight. He's too close. I want to scream, beg, but I can't. My mouth it doesn't work. The little sounds come out instead, like whining, like I'm nothing. He doesn't care. He's always smiling when he comes down here. I can feel it. That smile. That awful smile. He's right over me now. His hand, big, way too big, is just hanging there above my face. I close my eyes, but I can still feel him. His breath, it's so hot and gross. It makes my skin crawl. I just want it to stop. Then I hear it, the squish. His foot on the maggots. The sound makes me feel sick. He's stepping on them like they're nothing. They are nice to me. I am sad. I don't want to be next. I don't want to feel that. But I know I will. I'm always next. I brace for it, for him to yank the chain or do worse, but then I hear something different. A click. His hand moves, but it's not hitting me. The chain around my neck, it loosens. He's unlocking it. I don't understand. I just lay there, still shaking, too scared to move. Why? Why would he? How did he? The chains fall off of my body. I don't know what he wants. I don't know what's coming next. I'm too scared to move. It hurts too much. He pulls out a big capsule with a pointy end. I'm lying there, scared and confused. He comes closer, and I see him holding that thing, and my heart starts to race. I don't know what it is, but it looks scary. He brings the capsule toward me, and I'm shaking all over. I try to pull away, but I can't move much. I feel a sharp pain as he pushes the pointy end into me. I want to scream, but no sound comes out. It hurts a lot, and I don't know what's happening. His face is just above me, and he looks like he's smiling. But it's all blurry through my tears. I can't understand what he's doing, and I'm so scared. I want it to stop, but he keeps going, and the pain just won't go away. The sensation is weird, and I don't understand what's happening. It feels like my skin is crawling, and I can feel something moving beneath it. My hands start to tingle, and I see the maggots pushing out of my wounds. It's horrifying, but the pain is fading. My body is almost entirely hot. I watch, horrified, as the maggots wriggle and crawl out, leaving my skin behind. The gashes on my back close up, and my hands slowly regrow. It's an awful, disgusting sight, but I can't deny that the pain is going away. I can feel the wounds healing, and there's a strange, almost comforting warmth spreading through me. There's a very small part of me that feels slightly less awful. My body is healing. How is this happening? Did he lie to me? Can I experience something other than pain? I really hope this wasn't an accident. Oh no, it probably was. What if he sees me like this? I'm so scared. I'm still so weak and hungry, though. My whole body feels like it's just skin and bones. I feel so small and frail. I'm too weak to move much, and my stomach hurts from being so empty. I don't know if this healing will make me strong, or if I'll stay like this. I hope it will make me like him. I try to focus on the fact that I'm healing, but it's hard when I'm so weak and starving. Even though my wounds are closing, I'm still so hungry and tired. I just want something to eat, something to make me feel better. My hands are healed now. I try to pick up the squirmy things, but my hands are so weak. I put a few in my mouth, but as soon as I try to swallow, my stomach feels all messed up. I start to gag and then puke everywhere. The sick stuff mixes with the squirmy things, And I feel even worse. I can't stop crying. I try to sit up, but my body just won't do it. My arms and legs feel like they're made of the squirmy things. I can't move them no matter how hard I try. Can't get up, I say, tears running down my face. I must see where my dad comes from. What makes that noise every time he comes down? Is that where the water he talked about is? I'm on my ribs, dragging myself towards the stairs. Every inch is torture for my weak muscles, but I can't stop. I've never seen that. And it's the only thing I've ever wondered about. I need to know what it looks like. What does it look like? My legs don't work. They are too weak. So I pull myself slowly with my arms, pushing through the pain. Each move is slow and painful, but I keep going. The stairs are right there, just a few feet away, and I'm so close. Finally, I reach the bottom of the stairs. I'm almost there. Just a little more. My arms shake, but I pull myself one more time. The stairs are here now, right in front of me. I lift my head to look up. There's something up there. Something big and flat. I don't know what it is, but it's there. It's the thing he always comes from. I've never seen it before, but I always hear it creak when he comes down. I just stare at it. It's so close, but still far. What's behind it? Is that where he comes from? Is that where all the noise is from? Why does it stay closed? It's the first thing I've ever seen. That's not this place. I need to know what it looks like. What's on the other side? I can't stop looking. My heart is loud, banging in my chest. It's like the sound when he walks. Heavy and fast, this flat thing. It's like a wall, but smaller. It's different. What is it? I hear something. Above me. It's loud, like when he moves. Is it him? It's gotta be him. I freeze. I stop crawling and just lay there, not even breathing. The sounds keep coming. Boom, 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 right over me. What's he doing up there? It's loud, too loud. I don't know what to do. I can't move. My arms don't work now either. I'm just stuck. My body feels like it won't listen to me. The noise keeps going. I don't know how long, but it feels like forever. My whole body is shaking and I can't stop. I want to hide, but there's nowhere to go. If he comes through that thing, he'll see me. He'll know I was trying to go up there. What if he sees me so close to it? I just lay here, still as I can, scared to make even the tiniest sound. I don't know how long I stay like this. It feels like hours, but I can't tell. It's always the same. Dark, quiet, except when he comes. And now this sound above me. I don't know why, but start moving again. My arms shake so bad and my chest hurts, but I pull myself up the stairs, one at a time. It's so slow, and each step feels like it'll be the last one I can make. But I need to see. I need to know what's up there, what's making all that noise. The closer I get, the more I shake. My hands reach the top, and I drag myself all the way up, but there's nothing to see. The gap, it's so small. I press my face against the floor, trying to see through, but there's nothing. I press my face harder against the floor, and that's when I see it. A little glow, just barely there. It's coming from the crack, faint and shaky, but it's there. My chest tightens up. That's light, isn't it? I stare at the glow for what feels like forever, my mind trying to figure it out. It's kind of like when he turns on the light down here, right? That's what it looks like. But it's softer, and it's not all over the place. Just a little line of it coming through the crack. Is that the same thing? The light From up there? My heart pounds, and I swallow hard, my mouth dry. Maybe up there is like down here, just with more of that light stuff. But why does he need it? The steps are right behind this big flat thing now. I'm scared, shivering, and I don't know what to do. What if he finds me? What if he's mad? I can't stop shaking, and I'm just lying here, trying not to make a sound. But he doesn't. He goes away. Eventually, I use the little gap at the bottom of the wall-like thing, and I think maybe I can get my fingers under it. I see the wall-like thing above me, and there's a bit of light that I can't quite see, but I know it's there. I want to get out so bad. I push myself up as much as I can, trying to get my fingers under the wall-like thing. I shove my hands in, pushing them as far as I can. My fingers barely fit, but I keep trying. I can't really feel the light, but I know it's close. I stretch my fingers out as far as they'll go, hoping to touch it. I reach and reach, but it's too far away. My arms ache and my fingers don't get anywhere near it. I make little noises, frustrated and scared, thinking if I could just get to the light, maybe I could get out of here. I pull and push, but nothing changes. I keep trying, hoping the light will come closer, but it stays just out of reach. It's too far away, and my arms hurt from trying. I'm so tired and scared. I slide back down the steps, feeling the cold floor against my skin. My hands are sore and shaking, but I keep moving, pulling myself back to the bottom. I get back to where I was before, lying on the floor. I'm back on the cold, hard ground. My body is so tired. I can't move much, but I still crawl back to where the wriggly things are. They're all over the ground, and I look at them with my hurting eyes. I don't know what they are, but they were there before, and I hope they can help me. I reach out with my hands, trying to grab them. I'm weak and shaking, but I keep reaching. "Hello," I whisper. My voice is small and shaky. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what's up there, but it's bright and warm, and I want to be there. I pull myself slowly, trying to get closer to the wriggly things. I'm crying, feeling so helpless. "Please," I beg, "help me get out. I want to go there." I keep reaching and trying, but they won't help me. I try to whisper to them, but they don't like me. He lies there, staring blankly at the door at the top of the stairs. The bright, warm light that he yearned for seems like an unreachable dream now. His tears have dried up, and he's left feeling numb. The maggots, still wriggling nearby, are now just a disturbing presence rather than a source of comfort or hope. Jake closes his eyes and tries to rest, though the pain and hunger are still very much there. His severe exhaustion is starting to take over. He curls up in a small ball, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to get a small amount of sleep, even if it's only for a short while. Jake is used to sleep being more of a time travel to his next session of torture. He eventually cries himself to sleep in his pile of maggots, puke, and grime. Upstairs, in the home, Daniel stumbles into the kitchen, feeling the 8 natty daddies. The empty cans are scattered on the table as he grabs the last one, savoring the final swig before piss-missiling it into the recycling bin from 20 feet away. He walks over to the counter where a well-worn copy of Perspicacity by Andrew Tate waits for him. He picks up the book, its cover embossed with a bold, futuristic design. He opens it and begins to read, struggling to focus on the complex ideas presented in the book. His eyes are heavy, and the room starts to spin slightly as he reads through the pages filled with dense philosophical ideas. Eventually, Daniel puts the book down, letting out a contented sigh. He turns off the kitchen light and makes his way to the bathroom. He runs a bubble bath, filling the tub with warm water and a generous amount of bubbles. As he sinks into the bath, he closes his eyes and relaxes, feeling the stress of the day dissolve in the soothing water. After his bath, Daniel wraps himself in a plush robe and heads to his bedroom. The room is softly lit by a lamp on his nightstand. He crawls into bed, pulling the soft blankets up to his chin. He smiles contentedly and slips into a peaceful slumber. September 20th, 2053. Daniel awakens at 8 in the morning, feeling refreshed. He stretches, then gets up and heads to the kitchen, makes himself a strong cup of coffee and sips it slowly, enjoying the quiet of the morning. Everything feels peaceful, and he's ready for the grand day ahead. In the basement, on the other hand, Jake's eyes open to his usual hell of anguish and existential panic, weak and disoriented. The cold basement seems even more dark today. His stomach aches horrifically with hunger, and the empty, dark space around him only adds to his misery. He tries to move, but his limbs feel heavy and unresponsive. He looks around, desperate for anything to eat or a way out. The faintest light from the basement door above mocks him with its distant warmth. He feels an intense, gnawing hunger that he can't ignore. Always for years his instincts scream to find food, making his situation even more unbearable. The thought of the light and the possibility of escaping the basement pushes him to try and move again, but each attempt feels like an exhausting struggle. His instincts are the only thing left. He gave up long ago. His body knows to try, but he cannot comprehend what escape is. He crawls to the stairs with the strength of the serum keeping him alive. Jake, still weak and shivering, struggles to climb the stairs. Each step is a few minutes' worth of extreme agony and effort, and he's exhausted. When he reaches the top, he reaches for the door, trying to get his fingers under the gap. He is so fascinated with the slight glow in the tiny, tiny gap under the door, he just wants to see. He pulls and tugs, but the door won't move. He's so tired and frustrated. Jake thinks to himself, I want to see the lights and the water so bad. But the door stays shut. Let me out, he whispers out loud, crying as his body fails to produce tears, his insides drained and raw. Daniel, being near the basement door, hears this and says, What do you think you're doing, Jake? Jake's heart drops, and he is instantly paralyzed with horror. He wants to crawl away, but his legs are too weak. All he can do is lie there in horror, paralyzed and overwhelmed by the sheer terror of what's about to happen. His face is stretched and frozen with panic. Daniel yells through the metal door as he bangs on it, Go back to the corner. Jake flings down the stairs, busting his face on almost each step as he scurries into his corner. He curls up, trying to make himself as tiny as possible. His breath is fast and shaky, and he feels dizzy from moving so quickly. Every part of him quivers from exhaustion. He tries to put the chains back around his neck, but he has used all of his energy. They are too heavy for him now. As the basement door creaks open, Jake's heart starts to race uncontrollably. The sound of the door swinging open fills him with overwhelming horror. His fear peaks, and he clutches his chest, gasping for breath as he watches the shadow of Daniel descending the stairs. The terror surges through him, and Jake collapses onto the cold, concrete floor. His heart pounds furiously, each beat feeling like it might burst from his chest. The sight of Daniel's imposing figure coming closer only heightens his fear. He clutches at his chest, feeling the life draining from him. His breaths come in painful gasps, and he feels as though he's suffocating, his entire body trembling with the effort. His heart is failing from stress. The serum he was previously given starts to take effect, working to stabilize his condition. As the intense pain in Jake's chest begins to ease and his heart rate starts to slow, the serum helps him recover. But there's his one thing: the serum will never stop. The 6'5", 250-pound daddy currently standing above him.
The ground around is alive with their endless feast. Tiny mouse gnawing the man from the beast. Daddy's laugh, a guttural snore. Let them love you, Jake, they'll make you whole. Their writhing kisses, 1,000 bites, burrowing deep, outlasting the nights. They dance in wounds too old to heal, a carnival of rot where I used to feel. Hush now, Jake, the maggots sing through every tear. Their chorus clings. They eat what's left of who you were, a hollow shell, a soul interred. Belly bloated, writhing with life, each maggot a needle, each movement a knife. Their soft bodies nest in my open sores. Daddy watches smiling, craving more. He splits my flesh to make them stay. Be grateful, boy, they'll never stray. Maggots crawl through what's left of my teeth. They find the hollows they never leave. Hush now, Jake, your skin's their home. In your stillness their empire's grown. You're not alone, they'll always thrive in the corpse you carry, barely alive. Daddy's blade carves deeper this time to give them room, a home sublime. They love you, Jake, more than I could. He laughs, his knife soaked in my blood. My screams invite more to the feast. Their wriggling bodies, my mind's release. I sealed shut, they squirm inside, eating the boy who used to hide. Hush now, Jake, no need for breath. You've been embraced by life and death. No room for hope, just crawling dread. Maggots feast where Jake once bled. Beneath my skin, they find their place, wriggling deep, leaving no space. My body's theirs, my soul's his game. Hush now, Jake,